At the heart of the book is a section on the Battle of Falluja in November 2004, where you were embedded with a company of Marines. You covered the fighting for, I believe, 8 days, and then you had to be evacuated. What happened?
Well, Falluja was the stronghold of the insurgency, Al-Qaeda and nationalists. I mean, Americans haven't controlled that city since April and had hardly even entered, for that matter. So in November, after the elections in the States, they decided to take it back. And I was given, what's always regarded as the best embed at the tip of the spear. Up until then, I think that always was the best embed. In this case, I'm not so sure anymore. It really was the tip of the spear. I was with 18 Bravo, which is a Marine company. And they went through the entire city from north to the south on foot. It's only about 5 miles, but it took 9 days. And they were very, very fast about it compared to a lot of other units. So they also took a lot of casualties. I mean, every house, every time you set foot outside cover, you would get shot at. There were bombs all over the place. There were booby traps. I mean, it was just 9 days of nonstop combat. I mean, even in a place like Kabul, where it was relatively intense, it was, a few hours out getting shot at, and then, a few hours in, like a house or something like that. But Falluja, it was just nonstop. And I mean, those roads that I ran it, like one in particular that I think is burnt into everybody's memory of that place, 6-lane highway that we had to run across. And, while I ran as fast as I possibly could, and I think faster than I ever have in my entire life, I watched Marines drop around me. I could see the tracer bullets kicking up from underneath me. The more Marines in front of me running back from the building they were taking cover in to, get their guys off the street and getting shot themselves. I mean, it was. And then after 9 days of this, I was told that there was a dead foreign fighter in a minaret not far from this house that the Marines were occupying that I was at. And I wanted to go and see it. I mean, Dexter and I had already pretty much set a precedent by, we can run off from where the Marines are a few hundred yards and come back relatively safely. I mean, we didn't get shot last time it happened, last time we did that. So we asked permission to go up there, and the captain said, yes, I want you to see the foreign fighter in the mosque, because this is something that Americans don't get a chance to see. Like, we haven't got evidence now that they're fighting from the mosques, and we need to show that. But he sent a squad of Marines with us, which I felt bad about because, I generally try to make sure that I don't change anything more than I already am just by being there. So 2 guys, Lance Corporal Miller and Lance Corporal Dominguez, tried to go ahead of me up into this minaret to clear it. And I said, no, you guys stay, relax, stay here. I'll go up and get the picture and I'll be down in like 10 seconds. And we had this, like pretty heated argument at the bottom of the stairs. Like, I want to go first. You don't need to go up there. But, they won. So Miller went up first, then Dominguez, and then me. And after a few flights, it's pitch black inside the minaret, and there's a tiny little staircase covered in rubble because a tank shell had gone through the minaret. When shots rang out, and I felt, liquid over me. I thought it was like the water, the camelbacks, the sort of water-carrying things that the Marines have on their back. But then Dominguez started screaming, get down, and we couldn't, Miller wasn't responding, and so we got to the bottom of the mosque and I collapsed. I mean, I couldn't work after that. I didn't take any pictures of what, how the almost religious exercises of getting his body back. I mean, there was no way they were leaving it there. They risked their lives over and over and over again, and 2 more guys got wounded while they were trying to get his body out. But I couldn't bear to watch. I mean, Miller's blood was on my hands, literally. And I mean, for a long time, I couldn't work in Iraq anymore. I could hardly get on a plane back in New York. I mean, I think, what I had was a light case of PTSD, or PTSS, or whatever the hell the shrinks call it. But I mean, for for the Marines that had already been in country for, what, 10 or 11 months, and then had to stay in Falluja and lose a lot more guys. I mean, I don't know how you can come back from there.
And then you came back to New York and sought treatment for post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, I had 3 shrinks at one time. Yeah, I mean, I'm still, I'm still seeing a shrink and trying to understand what happened not only in Falluja but in Iraq. I mean, but what it almost always does come back to is those moments in the minaret. But after 12 months, I did return to Iraq. I needed to go back and see what was taking place now. I mean, I left and I felt like Falluja was the end. That was when the American administration stopped listening and just said, this is how we're going to deal with insurgents. I'm going to forget hearts and minds. We're going to raise the city. But all the same, I wanted to see what the elections were actually doing. These guys, I mean, the Iraqis did want to vote, and they did vote. They came out in enormous numbers. But what did it change? I mean, it means nothing to drop a ballot into a box. But if there's no viable change in the security and future of the country,